Hey, this could be a simple little video. I need to have a quick talk on making the proper DSLR purchase so that you will not regret it later. This will be a short list of a few premises that if you work on and combine all 5 of these premises, you will always make a DSLR purchase that you won't regret, as long as you mark off each little point succinctly. Then you can know you've made a confident choice. This is especially important for someone that has an entry-level camera, for someone that's looking to get into a Nikon. First question is budget. Now, I recently made 2 videos, a 2-part series on the best camera for a certain price bracket, like basically $300 to $500 bracket, then $500 to $1,000, then $1,000 to $1,500, then $1,500 on up. So you need to consider your budgets. You need to discriminate, point 2, your needs versus your wants. I mean, you shouldn't be, I've got to have the newest, latest on the block. It's never really a good thing, both in computers and in DSLRs, to be a beta tester for a large manufacturer. You need to stick with what is great. The megapixel wars are pretty much over. This 2008, 9, 10 series D700, well, it's only a 12.1 megapixel camera. It's probably my second favorite, right along the D700, my number 1 being the D810. So this is still an extremely hot camera, but this isn't for you necessarily. You have to ask your question, point 3, what is it that I want? What are the parameters of what I need? Not what I want, the latest or greatest. What do I shoot the most? I mean, is it going to be action? Sports? Do you need a large buffer? Are you planning on needing video? I'm more of a traditionalist photographer and grew up with film, but I've owned all of Nikon's DSLRs. The only 2 that I didn't own, the D3300 and the D5100, I had as rentals, so I've used them all. But you need to differentiate out what it is you either need or want as far as what it is you're shooting. Is buffer very important to you? Are you planning on doing a lot of video shooting? Or are you a traditionalist photographer and having a really tough camera that fulfills your photography needs? Is that enough? I mean, realistically, do you plan on printing anything larger than 20 by 30, and very few people even print that large. But given the case, even this D700, for example, I'm not singling out the D700, I just have it in front of the camera as an example on this little talk. Even this D700 will produce beautifully creamy results on 20 by 30 prints. Obviously it doesn't do video, obviously it doesn't have an enormous buffer. This, by the way, is the last of the legacy Nikons that is just built like a tank. Like the last of the legacy Nikon film cameras was the D5. Technically, I believe it was the D4S, the D4, the D4S, and this is the last of the legacy digitals as so far as being an extremely robust, heavy camera. But I'm as happy with lightweight cameras. I got a D750 coming within the week, so I mean that's an extremely lightweight, mostly polymer camera. I'm not hammering nails with my camera. Robustness, it only matters for so much. Ultimately, I have insurance on everything. Part number 4 is you need to consider a market value fluctuation, and that is twice a year. Right now we're in a lull. Nothing is going to change later this year. It is next year. But only the D5 is going to roll out, and I've heard of something else, but I wouldn't talk about it. But right now you can make a choice. I mean, anybody could obviously wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And if your budget is that way, that's fine. But if you're edging to buy something either as a first-time purchase or as an upgrade purchase, then I'm the last person to be a fan of upgrade, and especially the myth of the DX versus FX upgrade is about 65% hyperbole. Now, if you need it for your business and it's a tax write-off or cost isn't an issue, then sure, go out and buy my favorite camera. I've got a pair of D810s. I mean, but you're going to spend $3,000. However, its value to cost for a consumer that's either an amateur, an advanced amateur, or a hardcore amateur enthusiast even a hardcore amateur enthusiast. The value really isn't there, even though it's my favorite camera. I have to be totally objective. I'm all about saving people money, and this is a price point consideration that you need to consider. Currently, the market value fluctuation on Nikon DSLRs is such that best value for the money would be like a used D7000 for $500 if your max budget is $500. However, if you have an extra $100, $150, a better choice would be a mint used Nikon D7100 for $650 roughly. A mint used one. Refurbs, Nikon factory refurbs, they look brand new. They're totally gone through. They have a very low shutter count. Typically less than 15,000. Typically much less than 15,000, by the way, and I happen to have one. Would be $700, $725. Next price bracket up. Well, I before was heinously against the D750. Things have radically changed. I don't know who Nikon was listening to. I doubt they were listening to me, but I said that the D750 was horribly overpriced. D750 is an excellent camera, and I'm getting one currently. Its gray market price is $1,600 plus. And in that $1,000 to $1,500, $1,600 price bracket, I can't logically recommend the Nikon D750 over used D800, D800E. However, there are caveats, and these are the point considerations you need to make. What are you shooting? Now, the Nikon D750, for example, does not have an anti-aliasing filter. I mean, it does have an anti-aliasing filter. And the Nikon D800E does not have it, which means it's sharper for large print landscapes. So that's a consideration. If you're a landscape shooter and you don't want that AA filter on front of your sensor, which the Nikon D750 has, then obviously the D800E used is a more logical choice for you. So all of these considerations. You need to have also the consideration of what's the best bang for your buck. And I've said before, you need to differentiate out distinctly and make a list, a point list, and go down the list, your needs versus your wants. What is it that you need? Exactly what are you shooting? And you need to either consult with, well, you can consult with me. You could ask me any question. At the current time, I've given you an update, and that will update every several months. Nothing's going to change in the next 5 or 6 months as far as the best market value for your money. Best value cameras right now are unquestionably a D7100, a D750 in the next price bracket up, unquestionably so. The D7100 new is about to drop. I don't know if it's the next month or two or if they're going to wait until Christmas or November. They probably will, but I don't know. Either the next few months, which is probably the case, because the D7200 just rolled out. Now the D7200 is also an excellent choice. You have 2 points here, however, on the D7200. You've got its fair market value, which right now you can get it for $1,000. Its actual price in retail is $1,200. You can grab a gray market for $1,000. But all the D7200 is a sports action version of the D7100. Really, it has a larger buffer. It has better, much better high ISO capabilities, but most people aren't shooting in high ISO. If you're shooting a lot of indoor and a lot of sports action and you need a larger buffer, I mean, all those things are very important, and that's a consideration you need to make. And therefore, best price, best value for budget is something that needs to be disconsidered from your list, because that is a specific need that you have. Therefore, the D7200, excuse me, is a far superior far superior camera consideration for you than the D7100, which is used $450, well, new price, gray market, about $450 cheaper. And you could always be waiting for the next thing to come out, but nothing is going to change this year. Something could, at the very least, roll out later at the end of this year, but nobody sees that coming. The only thing that's going to change is the Nikon D4 is going to be dropped, and the D5 is going to come out. It's going to be like Canon's new camera. It's going to have a 50 megapixel sensor and Wi-Fi and do everything but wipe your fanny. But just go down the list so that you make a proper camera consideration, so that you know, you'll not only live with it but be happy with it and you don't regret it. So you need to consider budget, needs versus wants. Don't always consider the latest and greatest as a beta tester. Here's a perfect example, and like I said, I'm not selling this camera because your needs are different. You know, I've got other cameras for video, but you may only want one DSLR, and you don't have like 3-chip professional camcorders like I do, and you want a DSLR that does video and photography. So your needs are not my needs, obviously and logically so. I mean, this is about a logical price point consideration. This doesn't do video. It's a little bit slower of a camera, and it's a 12.1 megapixel, but this used to be a $3,100 camera, and while it is 6+ years dated, nevertheless nothing drastic has changed in that time. Buffer speeds have increased, obviously megapixel of the sensor has increased, some autofocusing capabilities have increased, but for someone that is an advanced amateur or professional photographer, all these newbie features that have been added are really frou-frou. I mean, they're icing on the cake. I mean, and the professional and the advanced amateur is only interested in the cake, and I rightfully and logically forward to you, such as my example, even though I have modern DSLRs and I'm getting a D750 and I've got several D7100s and a pair of D810s, that you know, this is an ideal camera for me because it's a tank. It's just an unmitigated beast that produces incredible pictures, is still highly in demand, and as far as cameras are concerned, I'm only interested in my camera taking photographic shots. I'm not interested in it taking video. That's not to say I don't also do video. So in my case, that's my consideration, and if that is your consideration, that is also another option on the list that you should consider. That, well, for the same money, I can get a camera that used to be $3,000+, even though it's dated, but it's still, you know, a world-class camera, even though the technology is not really dated. Really, the only thing that's missing between this and a modern DSLR are a bunch of frou-frou features, video, and a higher megapixel sensor. That's all that's missing. Well, that and a warranty, but the warranty can be taken care of by getting a insurance policy. So you have to ask yourself logically, well, if I have $500 or $600 to blow and I'm not interested in doing video, what about a camera that's 6 years dated that you know, used to be a $3,000 camera? As is the case with most things, be it cars or antique weaponry, an outdated car, like an old Mercedes, for example. Say you have an old Mercedes that used to be $30,000. I would rather have that old Mercedes used with X number of miles on it for $6,000 than spending that $6,000 and getting a like new Ford Escort. So, I mean, which would you rather have? I mean, the same thing really applies to photography, and that's something else you need to consider. Some people don't think that way. They think, well, I've got a $6,000 budget, and I want something with a warranty that's fairly new, and like go buy a Ford Escort or, you know, some other little American-made piece of crap, and they're perfectly happy. But then I consider to myself, well, for $6,000 I can buy a 5-year-old Mercedes with you know, 60,000 miles on it, and it's a lot cooler, it's built a lot better, and I'll enjoy it more. You may not have a warranty, but it's exactly what I need. So considerations like that are also things you need to take into consideration. Don't just consider current production cameras. And I hope you understand this list, and if you follow this list and you take all those points in consideration, you are guaranteed to make the proper DSLR camera choice. For you, not for me, but for you. Okay? Thanks for watching another video from the Angry Photographer. Right? Bye.